Welcome into the Rob Bro Show. I am Rob Bro. I am the host. You are the co-host. You can co-host today by commenting on the starting line chat line about anything you want to talk about. It's a free Friday. We can talk about anything. Of course, we're going to talk about the World Series. Carson is in today. Carson, how you doing? You ready for the World Series?
Oh man, you have no idea. Actually, you probably do have an idea because
I have an idea.
We've both been waiting for this since the game in St. Louis where the ring got away from you. So for every Rangers fan that ever thought, oh man, we're never getting back, the Rangers have made it back to the promised land, and now they're 4 wins away from bringing the first World Championship back to Arlington. And oh man, it'll be fun. It'll be, and I mean the first World Championship back to Arlington, because the Cowboys never won a World Championship while they've been in Arlington. The Rangers have never won a World Championship in Arlington. The Mavs don't play in Arlington, so you can't say Dallas. But yeah, the Stars don't play in Arlington either. They both won championships. The Rangers will be the final DFW professional sports team to win a championship.
And one of the remaining MLB teams to have never won one. We'll get off that list.
That'd be nice, too, where you're not on that trivia question. Which of these MLB teams has never won a World Series?
And honestly,
one right off the top.
In 2011, the year you lost to St. Louis, you had just been in 2010. You still had a bunch of players. You had Josh Hamilton locked up. You had a bunch of young stars. You needed to get some more players. The next year you got Adrian Beltre. So it's like, all right, we'll be back. We'll be back more. And then I don't think you won another playoff series.
No, you didn't win another playoff series. That's when the Toronto Blue Jays happened.
Yeah. Blew up Encarnacion and Bautista.
And then all of your pieces, you were not good for the year or two after that, and then you started trading away pieces thinking you might rebuild the farm system a little bit. You got, Nelson Cruz, you didn't re-sign.
Kinsler for Prince Fielder.
Yeah, Ian Kinsler for Prince Fielder. It just didn't go the ways that you wanted it to. You had a couple years in there with Jeff Bannister where, with Cole Hamels and those kind of guys that you tried, but it just didn't work out. So
speaking of Jeff Bannister, bench coach for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, how about that?
A little familiarity there. Somebody asked, I guess it was a reporter asked if he was open to the Houston Astros job. I didn't realize how many ties he had to Houston and the Houston area. I guess I knew that when he was the Rangers manager, but
yeah, you kind of forget about that.
Old Bannister, man, he didn't get a fair shake.
No, I liked him as a manager.
Yeah, they were not ready to compete. And he had them competing.
Yeah, and I don't think he and John Daniels shared the same vision of where they wanted the club to go.
No.
Daniels wanted to go back to being a young team, and he wanted Rougned Odor to be one of his faces of the franchise, if you will. And Rugi, technically, I guess he was a face of the franchise only because of the brawl that happened with the Toronto Blue Jays. If that doesn't happen, Rougned Odor is going to be known as the second baseman who hit a 200 clip barely, and hit a few bombs while he was here. And then the Joey Gallo thing never really worked out. He hit a bunch of home runs, but he also struck out 500 times a year. So that's exaggerating, but
that all leads us to now, though, Texas Rangers versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. I would say the Rangers are the favorites. I think analytics on ESPN has them as the favorites. I haven't looked at the betting line.
I have not yet either.
I really don't care to. It comes down to the games. I guess, what are your overall thoughts on the matchup? Because I do think you're the favorite as the Texas Rangers. And is this the team you wanted to see if you were looking at the NL at the beginning?
Yeah, it's the team you wanted to see if you're looking at the NL at the beginning. But, when you get to the World Series, you're talking about, and we talk about this all the time. We talk about baseball. A lot of it we talk about with college baseball, and if you're the hot team at the right time, good things will happen. The Fresno States of the world that catch lightning in a bottle and go through and win a World Series in Omaha. But it doesn't happen a ton in Major League Baseball because usually the best teams are the ones that win the World Series. But it does happen in college baseball where teams can catch lightning in a bottle and all of a sudden you find themselves in a World Series. We've seen that before. The Diamondbacks were a lot more talented when they had Randy Johnson, Luis Gonzalez, and those guys. Kurt Schilling was on that team. You're talking about Hall of Fame pitching. I don't know that there's any Hall of Fame pitching in this game on the Diamondbacks side of things. Zach Gallen, who was genius all season long, has not been good in the playoffs. He was not good in the Philadelphia series, lost 2 games in that series. But then you look at a Brandon Pfaadt, who has just been spectacular in this World Series. He's another guy. He's kind of like Evan Carter. He came up like 2 months before the season was over. Evan Carter came up a month before the season was over. Pfaadt's a pitcher. Carter's a position player. Pfaadt went to a school that nobody's ever heard of to play college baseball. Nobody has ever heard of where he went, and I can't even remember where it was. JB Morosi posted it on Twitter, and they're Division I school now, but I don't believe they were whenever Brandon Pfaadt went to school there. Like Brinkley College or something like that is where Brandon Pfaadt went to school. And his Bellarmine. Yeah, thank you. I knew it started with a B, but never heard of it in my life. Seen, and you're talking about a guy that was SID's son and knows every school. I couldn't tell you what Bellarmine's. I didn't even know the school till yesterday. So there's a lot to be said about being a hot baseball team at the right time, having pitching like a Brandon Pfaadt who comes out of nowhere and just shoves and deals against the Philadelphia Phillies and wins that series for the Diamondbacks. If it's not for Brandon Pfaadt, the Diamondbacks are not in the World Series. We're talking about the Phillies, Rangers, and Philly is, Philly, and their fans are nuts, and it's going to be tough to win there and blah, blah, blah. Now you don't have to worry about that. And I think for the Rangers, that's the best part. But I also think that the Diamondbacks are dangerous because they don't have a bunch of dudes who are well known that are just going to go out and play their absolute rear ends off. They got one of the best rookies, if not the best rookie in all of baseball, in Corbin Carroll, who's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a dangerous team, man. You look up and down that lineup, you have a couple of guys in the middle in the infield and Ketel Marte and Pham that can absolutely rake. They're a dangerous team. Torey Lovello is just a guy who lets his guys go out there and be who they are and be, a ball player. And he doesn't care what they do. I mean, he lets them play free. Corbin Carroll's not a guy who does a lot of talking. He does it with his feet. He's fast. He gets on base. He does everything the right way. So the Diamondbacks are dangerous, but the Rangers on the flip side, they're kind of a team in the same cut from the same cloth. They're kind of a whole bunch of no-name guys. I mean, guys have made a name for themselves because you had 6 All-Stars on the team this year. Josh Young has made a name for himself as a rookie. He would have been the Rookie of the Year if he doesn't get hurt in the American
but I don't
League.
think Adolis Garcia is nationally known. I think
he is now because of what he did in the SAS.
Corey Seager is probably your big star. Marcus Semien has been around for a long time, but I don't think he's ever been known as a big star. He certainly has had a great season, probably a Golden Glove season.
Nate Eovaldi has never been known as a big star. He's always been 3rd or 4th in a rotation. He's never been the top of the line guy. I mean, he was for the Red Sox when they weren't very good a few years ago.
Now you do have Max Scherzer.
Yeah, you have Scherzer, but Scherzer's at the back end of his career. It's not like you don't have Mad Max Scherzer, right? Like they still call him that, but he's not that guy anymore.
I hope you do for one game, man.
It'd be great if you have him for one game in the playoffs. I mean, if he goes and can Kurt Schilling a thing up, I keep saying that, but that's kind of the way I look at it with how old Kurt Schilling was when he was pitching for the Red Sox in that World Series and the ALCS with the bloody sock and all of those things. It feels like it's that kind of deal for Max Scherzer. It's his final chance, really, to get a World Series, unless he stays with the Rangers after this year, which I don't know what'll happen there. And you said they picked up a club option, so I think he will.
Yeah, I think I'm fairly certain he'll be here next year as well.
But yeah, other than that, there's not a whole lot of names on this Rangers team that just jump off a page at you. Evan Carter's making a name for himself as being one of the most disciplined 21-year-old hitters, 20-year-old hitters in the whole entire world. Circa Miguel Cabrera back when he was 18, 19 playing for the Miami Marlins in the World Series. So yeah, it's going to be one of those World Series where I think a lot of these guys are going to make a name for themselves. If they haven't already, Adolis Garcia is now made a name for himself in the big leagues by the way he treated the Astros last week. That was fun to watch. I mean, I don't care. Even if you're an Astros fan, you got to respect Adolis Garcia now, right? Like, you have to respect what that guy
Astros
does.
fans don't respect anything.
No, that's true. They think they're better than everybody because they've won so much in the last few years. But fair enough to them. They have the bragging rights for it. But yeah, Adolis Garcia owned the Houston Astros last week, and Nate Eovaldi was clutch too. Jordan Montgomery, if not for Adolis Garcia, Jordan Montgomery is probably the MVP of the ALCS.
Yeah, yes,
because he pitched a gem in Game 5 and then gets the loss because the bullpen can't hold it together, and then he comes back in Game 7 and pitches a gem out of the bullpen as well. Jordan Montgomery has been your best guy in the playoffs, along with Nate Eovaldi.
Yeah, and Evaldi's 4-0 in the playoffs with
a
crystal sparkling, 0.96 ERA?
Yep. Yeah, less than 1, sub 1. So, yeah, it's fun. Haley said he's old enough to remember the Rob Rose show in September 2023. We didn't even know if the Rangers would make the playoffs. It's true.
Yeah, you go back to the beginning of September when they're falling off. And you have the Blue Jays, the Mariners are storming back. You have the Astros storming in front. They took a lead in the division. The Mariners were right there because they won 10 straight. Yeah, I mean, the Rangers were in danger. And I think it kind of woke them up. I think they maybe read some press clippings, ate some cheese. Of course, Evan Carter's call-up changed the dynamic of the team. Ezekiel Duran is he even on the team anymore? Like,
I don't know that he made the postseason roster. He was in the dugout. I saw him in the dugout, but he's not suited up.
Then you have Jankowski, who played a bulk of the season and has only been a pinch runner in the playoffs.
Yeah, we haven't seen Robbie Grossman.
You have seen Robbie Grossman a little bit. He started a couple of games. He started. He started game 6.
Yeah, that's right. He started game 6. You're right.
Batted third, but not nearly as much as you did in the regular season. And then you haven't seen any other catch beside Jonah Heim. He's on a ridiculous streak of games in a row caught.
Yeah, Austin Hedges is just chilling and having a great time in the dugout.
It's
just along for the ride.
He's the emergency goalie in hockey.
And he doesn't care either. He was he did an interview yesterday, and then he was talking about, I don't want to play for Jonah Heim. Why would I want to play when Jonah Heim is doing what Jonah Heim's doing?
Yeah.
Like, the guy, and Jonah Heim struggled. He was struggling in the month of September when he came back trying to fight through that thumb injury. But to catch that many games in a row and be the guy behind the plate, be the constant guy for that pitching staff, I think is big. And Mitch Garver has been good too in the DH role since going back to it when Jonah Heim came back. And Mitch Garver filled in. You can't underplay what Mitch Garver did while Jonah Heim was away. Because Mitch Garver, we talked about it. Can he fill the shoes that Jonah Heim was leaving of an all-star season? And Mitch Garver stepped in and did a phenomenal job while Jonah Heim was away. Helped you win a few games that if you don't win those games, you're not in the playoffs. You don't have a chance. You're on an 8-game losing streak going into September, and you gotta win a lot of games in September to keep up the division lead. And you lose the division lead, you come back, you storm back, you're like, 4 games down in the division? You come back and you're in the lead on the last day of the season, and then you tie for the division, and the Astros beat you in the regular season, but you beat them when it counted. So the Texas Rangers are just a scrappy bunch that have put it together. They had they got bit by the injury bug maybe harder than anybody in this season other than maybe the New York Mets, who they got bit by the injury bug hard. and then they just weren't very good, which is crazy because they had all those, all the talent in the world other than their closer, which you should be able to find another back end guy. But
Yeah.
anyways, the Rangers are just a scrappy bunch. I think it has a lot to do with Bruce Bochy. You watch when that guy played. I mean, the guy was a scrapper when he played. He caught a bunch of games too whenever he played. Jonah Heim's kind of taken over how Bruce Bochy was as a professional baseball player. And so it's just it's fun to watch good baseball. It's fun to watch, obviously, for Rangers fans that have been so hungry to see the Rangers succeed again, and kind of just put it in the back of your mind like, yeah, they'll be good in maybe a few years when you get the talent up, the Evan Carter and Josh Young are up for a few years, then you might be good. You didn't expect it to be this year.
No,
Nathaniel Lowe has had a great season. You're ahead of schedule, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And so are the Arizona Diamondbacks. Nobody saw this coming with this World Series. And there's some people that are like, oh, no one's going to watch the World Series. Don't care. I'll watch it. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I will say this. During the Astro series, I was very much in the mindset of, we're ahead of schedule. We don't need to ask for too much. This is what it is. Now that you're in the World Series, you're not ahead of schedule. You're on schedule. This is where you're supposed to be. Win the damn thing, because you never know when you can go back. You go back to that Cardinals World Series where you have that roster together. You don't think you're going to blow it up 3 years later and be in a decade of mediocrity the rest of that decade. And Elvis Andrus is never going to go back to winning a playoff series. And Adrian Beltre, who comes the next year, is never going to win a playoff game with the Texas Rangers. I mean, you don't think that stuff.
Right.
So you're here, you're there, you got to win now. I mean, this is the opportunity. There are 6 teams in the major leagues without a World Series. You're one of them.
Yeah.
That gets the monkey off the back and probably opens up a whole lot more spending to go get another one, because now you want to be the new Astros. So,
well, and you have to compete with the Astros. That's the thing too. The Astros aren't going anywhere. They've got a bunch of great talent. They've got one of the best players, if not the best player in postseason baseball history, on their roster, and he's not going anywhere.
I will say they have some decisions to make in the next 3 years.
They do, because their stars are getting older.
And coming up on contract.
They're gonna have to sign Yordan Alvarez to a massive deal. If they don't, then he's going somewhere else. He'll probably end up in New York.
3 years.
Yeah. And pitching wise, Verlander's not getting any younger. I don't know how many years he has left. I think if they would have won the World Series this year, Verlander would have rode off into the sunset.
And all those young pitchers, A, getting older, B, getting to arbitration.
Right. Yeah. And so the closer and closer you get to arbitration, the more and more hard and tougher it gets to keep a team together. The Rangers figured that out because, the Nelson Cruz, Elvis Andrus, you couldn't keep all of those guys from those World Series teams from back in the day. Neftali Feliz, they screwed him by trying to make him a starting pitcher where they should have just left him as a closer. It is what it is. In arbitration, 6 years comes pretty quick in baseball years. So enjoy your success while you can is what I say, because baseball is one of those games where you can be at the mountaintop, man, and you can be right there knocking on the door, and then all of a sudden that door is no longer available to you to knock on. You can't get up there anymore. Yep. And it's a tough hill to climb. And I don't care what level of baseball it is. Anything to win series in baseball is hard. Baseball is the toughest sport. Hitting a ball is the toughest thing to do in professional sports. That's why guys get paid a bunch of money to fail 70 to 75% of the time and still are considered great, right? That's what makes baseball beautiful. And when you watch this game and you watch it being played the right way, and by the right way, I mean what the Rangers Astros series was, that's the right way to play baseball. I love the guys, hitting Adolis Garcia. I love that stuff. Right? Like, don't try to injure a guy. And then I love that Adolis Garcia took issue with it, and the bench is clear. I love that. That's baseball, man. That's what the game's supposed to be like. It's not supposed to be this.
I like the emotion. Yes.
It's not supposed to be this. I like you, you like me. Let's go play, have a fun game. If you win, cool. If I don't, no. Competition's at the highest level at this point, and that's why the ALCS between the Rangers and Astros is one of the most watched ALCS series that we've seen in quite a while. And you're talking about two Texas teams. Only the people in Texas care about the Rangers and Astros. There's not a whole lot of people that like the Astros out of Houston, and not a whole lot of people that like the Rangers out of Arlington and this area of Texas, right? In this area, a melting pot of Astros Rangers fans. And during Game 7 the other night, we were at an establishment here in Lubbock, and I was watching it with some friends, and there's Astros fans and Rangers fans, and everybody's just going to battle with every pitch. It was fun, and that's the kind of
got out of hand.
Yeah, for a while, and then it was fun for me for the rest of the night. The Astros guys left.
Yeah,
the Rangers fans and faithful stuck around, but yeah, it was a fun series to watch, man, and I'm glad it went 7 games. That's beautiful baseball. And then the Phillies Diamondbacks series, just as good. The Phillies, it looked like they were the team of destiny this year, and they were going to do what they didn't finish last year. The way they beat the Braves, who were the best team in baseball, who I thought were going to win the World Series, and it wasn't even going to be a competition.
Yep.
That's why baseball is a beautiful thing, because even the best team isn't always the best team at the end of the day, right? It's who's playing the best baseball at the right time and who has everything put together. And it'll be interesting to see how it'll come down to starting pitching. Obviously, that's, it's a cliche thing to say, but it comes down to starting pitching in the World Series for both of these teams, because both of them kind of have the same issue. For the Diamondbacks, Brandon Pfaadt was nails. For the Rangers, it was Nathan Eovaldi and Jordan Montgomery that were the two guys that you want to see. Everybody else is kind of hot crap. Let's hope they have a good outing tonight, because if not, it's going to be a very long night in the ballpark. So the starting pitching, Zach Gallen, like I said, has not been good in the playoffs. I don't know if that's because he threw just too many innings during the season. And his road to probably winning the Cy Young, if they haven't already announced that he won the Cy Young yet in the National League. But yeah, it'll come down to starting pitching. It'll come down to the Rangers bullpen being able to hold a lead late if it's a close game. Those types of things matter at this point in the season. And I don't know. It's one of those deals where you feel like if you don't win it this year, can you get back there? It's not one of those where, when you played the Giants in the World Series, Rob, back in, what year was that? 2010. 10? Yeah, 2010. Where you played no, that wasn't 2010 when you played the Giants in the World Series and lost.
Yeah. You went back to back 2010, 2011.
I thought that was when we were in high school when they were in the World Series. Anyways.
Back to back.
Anyways, doesn't matter when they went back to it. When you lost to the Giants, you knew that Rangers team was coming back the next season and had another chance. You kind of took it for granted. And then after that, you're like, man, we lost the World Series to the Cardinals. Oh, we could probably get back there next year as Rangers fans. And then you haven't been back in 15, 16 years. So 12 years, I guess.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, it's tough to get back, man, and just enjoy it while you can, and hope you can get it done right now, because the way that Major League Baseball is now, especially too, is guys leave and come and go more often than they did back even 10, 12 years ago. So it becomes harder and harder to keep guys around. Now, obviously, you have the nucleus of your team that'll be back, but pitching wise, it'll be interesting to see what you do with the Evaldis and those kind of guys of the world.
You played 4 games against the Diamondbacks in the regular season, 2-game series, once in May, once in August. You lost 3 of 4. You split with them early, but that was John Gray and Andrew Heaney. I doubt either of them get World Series starts. And then you had John Gray and Jordan Montgomery start against them in August. Jordan Montgomery threw an absolute gem, and the bullpen allowed them to walk it off in extra innings in the 11th. But he went 8 with no earned runs. That was one of his first starts for the Rangers, or at least early in his Rangers tenure, maybe third or fourth start. But they had the upper hand in the regular season. I would say your bullpen has been better here in the playoffs. I think your starting rotation has been better in the playoffs. Let's go Gallen versus Evaldi. Who wins tonight? Who wins the series?
Two all-star pitchers. Two guys that were very good for their clubs during the regular season. You know, Gallen wasn't hurt during the regular season. Evaldi was, which kind of limited Nate's ability to win a Cy Young maybe in the American League.
He was certainly on track
because he certainly was on track. If he would have kept having the season than he was after the All-Star break and not getting hurt, man, it's just so hard to pick against a guy like Nate Evaldi, who's just a freaking competitor, man. He just competes. That's what Nate Evaldi does. You know, and I think a lot, and I've said this throughout the year too, and I said it earlier, is that this team has kind of adopted the Bruce Bochy, like, hard, tough nose, blue collar kind of approach to baseball. And Nate Evaldi is one of those guys who he just goes out there and he gets this look in his eyes when he's not pitching, when he's not playing. He's got a different, attitude about him. He's kind of a cool dude.
Yeah.
He's chill. He's the ultimate teammate. But when he's on the mound, he's a stone cold killer. And he'll do just about anything to win a baseball game. And Nate Evaldi wants to win a World Series so bad that it's one of those deals where you want him to be ultra competitive, but you don't want him to be too competitive where he overthrows and does all this. But I think he's so experienced in the playoffs and in baseball. He's such a professional that he's going to be just fine on the bump. You'll see him juiced up in the first inning, I'm sure. First few pitches, he'll be juiced up. He may miss a little bit. He may walk a couple in the first inning. Don't get too upset. Zach Gallen is trying to find something right now in the playoffs. He just got, lit up against the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yes, he did.
In that series. Didn't pitch well in the Dodgers series either. Not that he had to, but he didn't, he didn't pitch all that well for Zach Gallen for this year. But he's still the guy who's probably going to win the National League Cy Young Award. So, yeah, I think that you have to respect that. You got to respect that right arm, and the Rangers got to put up some runs. But I think Nate Evaldi against this Diamondbacks offense, if you can just keep Ketel Marte off the bases, Corbin Carroll's a tough out. The dude's going to get on base. He's kind of like Jose Altuve. He's just kind of a gnat. He just doesn't go away. He's not going to hit bombs like Altuve. But if he gets on base, he's a double machine because he's just going to steal second. You've got to be really good, just not allowing free passes. I mean, that's the thing. This Diamondbacks team will take advantage of that. They'll run on you a little bit. They've been doing the little things right. They bunt when they need to bunt, which is crazy because you never see that in Major League Baseball anymore. Torey Lovello doesn't play the analytics game as much as a lot of these coaches do, but he does play it in the fact how he sets his lineup, how he does his pitching rotation, all those things. So, and then if you can get in this Diamondbacks bullpen after Zach Gallen, I think you have a chance. But I would give if we're going Gallen to answer your question in a long roundabout way, I would give the edge to Nate Evaldi over Zach Gallen in this situation at home for Evaldi. Gallen's trying to find something. Evaldi's 4-0 in the playoffs with a sub-1 ERA.
Yeah. The Rangers have been really good at home, just not against the Astros.
Just not against the Astros. The Rangers, let's just be honest. The Rangers weren't great against the Astros all season.
Yeah.
You won 4 out of 3 in the time you needed to win 4 out of 7.
Yeah.
So, and let the Astros only win 3. So, you were good when it mattered against the Astros this year, but you weren't very good all the other times. But yeah, it's It's a great match. I think that people are underplaying this matchup, and a lot of that has on Twitter has to do with Astros fans just being butthurt about it.
Yeah.
But people are underplaying how good, how evenly matched this team is. Throw the records out the window. 84 wins for the Diamondbacks, barely sneaking in the playoffs. Don't care. It, you know, I don't care that Brandon Pfaadt's a guy who wasn't in the big leagues until August or late July, whenever he came up. I just don't care about any of that. They're in the show for a reason. They're on the big stage of the World Series for a reason, and I think it's going to be a pretty good series. I don't think it's going to be just one team is better than the other, and it's over real quick. It's going to be a really good World Series. Um, so yeah, it's. I think people are kind of underwriting what this World Series. They're like, oh, it's going to be the least watched World Series. And here's the thing, I don't care. And the other point is that I want to make is baseball is popularity is at an all-time high this year.
Yeah.
People are watching baseball at a higher clip than they ever have. And so I don't think that you're going to have the most least watched World Series in the world. I don't. I think there's a lot to watch in this World Series. I think Corbin Carroll's a fun player to watch. I think Josh Young's a fun player to watch. Evan Carter, Odolis Garcia has captivated a ton of baseball fans. Yeah. I don't care if you like him or hate him, he's captivated the baseball world. So, and Corey Seager, it's kind of funny because Corey Seager really is just an absolute stud, but his demeanor and the way that he does things, and they just don't speak. And there's a lot of guys on this Rangers team, and they were talking about this. Leslie McCaslin was doing an interview the other day with Tony Beasley, and Tony Beasley's kind of a guy who's soft-spoken and doesn't speak up a lot and doesn't talk a lot. But Tony Beasley is a guy who goes out there and he just competes. I mean, you're talking about a dude who's beat cancer, 3 times now?
Something like that,
yeah, just an absolute man. And a lot of this team has taken the Tony Beasley approach to the game, and they don't do any talking. They don't do a whole lot. Adolis Garcia is really the only flashy player you have on this team. Everybody else is kind of just, sit back, relax, and go out and play a game of baseball and just compete your rear end off.
Yeah.
And you don't have a ton of guys who do a lot of talking. You don't have a bunch of raw guys in the dugout like you did with the Elvis Andrus and the Ian Kinslers and those guys who you visibly saw what they were doing in the dugout and having fun and joking around and being intense and all those things.
You have Austin Hedges.
Yeah, you got Austin Hedges. He's the guy who keeps it light in the clubhouse. And he doesn't have to play, and he doesn't care that he's not playing. You have a bunch of dudes that are good baseball players that don't care who gets the glory. They don't care who's making the money. They just want to freaking win. And that's a team that you can get behind. I don't care if you're a Rangers fan or a D-backs fan. Both of the teams are very similar in that way. Now, the D-backs do have a little bit more flair to them and in the way that, Ketel Marte plays. Just look at what he wears. A lot like Adolis Garcia wearing the shoes that he wears. You got some flashiness in the Latin players, but that's just how they play baseball. And the people that hate that can go watch something else, because that's the beauty of baseball, man.
All right, so I'm going to go Rangers win game 1 and Rangers win in 6.
That's kind of where I was going to go, but now I kind of want to be different than you, but I don't want to be different than you, because that means that Texas is winning and wrapping the World Series up in Texas.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
Okay, I'm just going to, because I want to be different, I'll say the Rangers in 7, but I think they win game 1. Brandon Pfaadt will go game 2. Man, the game 2 matchup is going to be just insane with Jordan Montgomery and Brandon Pfaadt. We're talking about 2 dudes who just don't give up runs. They're very stingy, very greedy, very just, you're not going to beat me, or you're going to have to beat me. I'm not going to beat myself kind of guys. So it'll be interesting to see. But I like the Rangers in 7 at home.
Roy's got the D-backs in 7. He's a D-backs fan.
I like it. The D-backs have just as good of a chance at winning this thing as the Rangers do because the Arizona Diamondbacks are playing their best baseball right now. They weren't in the first couple games against the Phillies, but they figured out something, man, in Arizona and then in Philadelphia. If you can go to Philadelphia and win 2 games that they needed to win, and I mean needed desperately, obviously, to win. They won 2 games in Philly, Rob. Not a whole lot of teams can say they did that in the playoffs in any years. So for them to go to Philly and do that, the D-backs are a dangerous ball club. They've got every right and every single reason to be in the World Series for why they're there. I mean, they dismantled the Los Angeles Dodgers, who everybody thought was going to play the Braves in the NLCS, and the winner of that series is probably going to win the World Series against the Astros. Nobody else is giving anybody a chance. So this World Series makes me happy to see both of these teams in it. Both of these managers know what they're doing. Torey Lovello, I think he's one of the best managers in the game of baseball with the way that he does things. He's still kind of old school, but does things the analytical way. Bruce Bochy just manages just by feel. Bruce Bochy doesn't care what the stats are. Bruce Bochy just goes off of what he feels like is going to be best today. And that's what I love about Boch is that he's a consummate professional. He's a consummate competitor. And he wins, man. The San Francisco Giants would give anything to have Bruce Bochy back right now. They kind of ran him out of town, and I think it was a mutual thing where he wanted to get out, and he was tired, and it had kind of run its course. But now they're like, "Hey, Boch, you're unretired now. You want to come back? We could sure use you."
Man, if he wins the World Series, I hope he stays.
Oh, I hope he does too. I mean,
I want him here for the next 5 years. I mean, I know he just came out of retirement and he probably could ride off into the sunset with a World Series, but man, I don't know who you get to replace Bochy. I think that was just the perfect storm with this roster and that coach. He's been so good. All right.
Just the fact that Chris Young went out and just got the guy that he wanted and the guy that he knew would be the perfect fit for this Rangers roster.
Yeah.
You got to give a lot of credit to Chris Young on getting Bruce Bochy to get out of retirement.
Oh, yeah.
Called him up and said, "Hey, Boch, I know that you're coaching some hardcore T-ball action right now in your grandson's league, but I need you to come back and coach in the big leagues." And Bochy was like, "Yeah, I don't know about that." And now I think Bruce Bochy is really happy that he signed on for this thing. And without Bruce Bochy, I don't know that the Rangers are this competitive, even with this same roster. I don't know that the Rangers even win or get into a wild card spot. So
not with Woodward.
No, not with Chris Woodward. No,
certainly not.
No.
All right, let's pick some college football games. We've got the Big 12 games. Then, as always, we'll go across the landscape of the top 25. Oklahoma and Kansas is in Lawrence. Oklahoma -9.
Who's playing quarterback for Kansas? Do we know?
Bean.
Is Daniel's just done?
He is still focusing on his back issues.
So he's done.
I guess he's done with Kansas. I don't know what happened. Maybe he'll transfer and be somewhere else next year.
Yeah, I would assume that would be the case. Probably end up at Oklahoma. Watch. It's usually what happens. I'll take Oklahoma to cover on the road at 9.
Yeah. I'll take Kansas. I took Kansas against Texas too, and that was not a good pick.
It didn't work out so well for you.
Houston +17.5 against Kansas State in Manhattan. I'll take Houston +17.5. That's a giant number.
17.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me Houston to cover that. Kansas State's going to win, but
yeah, they've blown out 2 opponents in a row in Texas Tech and TCU, but something's got to give there.
Can Houston stop the quarterback run game? That's the question.
Not many people have.
No.
By the way, Donovan Smith, 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 4 picks.
Donnie football. Seems like that would be beneficial in a red and black uniform here in Lubbock.
Sure would. West Virginia, UCF -7 somehow at home.
See, y'all said that I was stupid for this on the Gambling Gauchos After Dark. I said UCF would be a 7-point favorite in this game.
No clue how this is.
I don't know how. I just kind of felt it.
They're 0-4.
Yeah, the UCF would be a favorite at home. I don't know. I guess people love the UCF Golden Knights. Yeah, give me West Virginia to cover this.
Me too.
I think UCF walks it off with a field goal to win. Just Gus Malzahn it up and then figure out a way to win at the end of the game. But yeah.
I don't trust their field goal kicker, but sure.
I don't trust any field goal kickers, man.
True. BYU and another field goal kicker they don't trust, Bert Auburn, for Texas. Texas -20.
Yeah, Bert Auburn needs to cut his hair, like change something.
Yeah.
No Texas -20.
No Quinn Ewers.
No Quinn Ewers. Yeah. Get BYU will cover.
I think so too.
I think Texas wins by 17.
Iowa State, Baylor. Iowa State -3 on the road.
I thought Baylor might be favored at home, to be honest with you. Roy Melton just read my brain, too, by the way. He said he trusts Trelika. I was about to say, unless his name's Alex Trelika.
Yeah.
Great minds, Roy. Great minds.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. Iowa State favored at Baylor. Both teams not very good. Give me Baylor. They'll get back to 500.
At home.
I get them to win. Yeah, they win.
That'll also move them to 3-2 in the Big 12.
Yeah. Better than Texas Tech.
I'll take Iowa State just to be on the other side.
That's fair.
Cincinnati, Oklahoma State -7.5.
Give me the Pokes.
Yeah. I want to take Oklahoma State, and I will, but this would be hilarious for Cincinnati to come in and win this one.
Wouldn't it be a game for Emory Jones to just figure it out, and then Alan Bowman throws about 3 picks?
Yeah.
You forget to run the football with your best player in Ollie Gordon.
Feels like that game.
Just kind of feels like that game. You know, everybody's back on the bandwagon now. That Gundy's kind of turned this thing around. You're 5-2, where everybody was going, man, Oklahoma State might win 4 games this year. Now you're a win away from bowl eligibility, which is nuts for this Oklahoma State team and how bad they looked early in the season. Alan frickin' Bowman.
All right, let's get some top 25 matchups in. I'll lightning round them, not even give you the line. Just give me a winner.
Okay.
Florida State, Wake Forest.
Florida State.
Man, what a game against Duke.
Oh, man. Devin Travis was amazing, wasn't he?
He is so good.
He might win the Heisman, Robbie.
Jordan
Travis, not Devin Travis.
He's got less yards and less touchdowns than Donovan Smith.
He plays for the top 4 team in the country. That's all that matters. Caleb Williams won't win it again.
Goofy games. Georgia, Florida. And
Georgia.
14
by 20.
Florida covers 14.
Okay.
Oregon, Utah, top 15 matchup.
World's oldest cocktail party, that one is.
Largest.
Yeah, largest. Oregon, Utah. Give me the Ducks in Utah.
Yeah, in Salt Lake City.
In Salt Lake City. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. They're both 6-1. They're both 3-1 in the Pac-12. That's a playoff implication matchup.
Yeah, Utah got their big Pac-12 win. Now this is a game, and it's hard to pick against Kyle Whittingham, man. It just is. But that loss to Oregon State, they just did not look good. And then against USC, their defense just showed up against USC. So, but Oregon is a different beast. Bo Nix is the best quarterback in the Pac-12. Just kidding. Caleb Williams is. I'm not that stupid, but Bo Nix is pretty good.
In the Pac-12?
Yeah.
Michael Penix Jr. is.
Caleb Williams is better than Michael Penix Jr., but Michael Penix Jr. was not good on Saturday. Let's be honest. He was not good.
They won the game.
Doesn't matter. He was not good. They had a pick six that won them the game, Rob.
They're 7-0.
Michael Penix Jr. did not play good on Saturday. He played awful.
They're 6-2.
Did you watch the game?
Yes.
He had throws that he was missing all over the field. He is not that good. No.
Caleb Williams' mental health worries me. Duke Louisville.
Man, can Duke come back? And this is at Louisville, correct?
On the road.
I don't think Duke's. I think Tim Elko, whatever his name is. I think they're kind of coming into the tough part of their schedule, and Louisville's going to handle them at home. Brian Brom.
The tough part. This stretch they're on has been ridiculous.
Yeah, the stretch there, they've played a tough schedule so far.
Notre Dame, NC State, Florida State, Louisville, all in a row.
NC State's kind of a bye week, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but still in state competition.
Yeah.
That's 4 ranked teams.
I'll take Louisville, but both of these teams are a couple years away from being really, really solid ACC contenders.
Yeah.
Brian Brom is doing a fantastic job at Louisville. I was glad that he took that job. That's the only hire Louisville could have made that made sense at the time. Jeff Brom. Brian Brom's his brother. His brother's his offensive coordinator.
We're so close today with the names.
I know. Well, but at least I was right about one of the Broms. They're both there. Let's put it that way.
They are both.
Yeah.
A couple of 10-point lines here. Tulane Rice.
Tulane.
Why is Rice getting all that respect?
I have no idea.
They're
there'll be about 5,000 people at that game too.
USC California also a 10-point line.
Poor Golden Bears. The Trojans. Caleb Williams is gonna play pissed off and just put it on Cal. They're not good.
Is Cliff the head coach this week?
I don't know. Is he?
I
would assume not.
Oh, Lincoln Riley missed a couple of days of practice.
Was he sick?
Yeah, he's sick.
He'll be on the sideline for Saturday.
Tennessee, Kentucky.
Man, I was high on the old Blue Cats a few weeks ago. They haven't played well in the last couple weeks. Tennessee is kind of a tough team to pick this year. They're a 3.5-point favorite.
Yes.
I don't care. Give me Kentucky at home, man.
I'll take Tennessee. I'm a Vols guy.
See, I like Josh Heupel. I think that he's done a great job at Tennessee, but I think Kentucky at home, they need a win. Yeah, I think Kentucky wins.
Ohio State, Wisconsin.
Ohio State.
Same. And then Oregon State, Arizona. This is a 3-point line. 11th ranked team versus an unranked team. A 3-point line.
Here's the thing. Arizona should have beat USC.
Should have.
Let's see. Give me Oregon State. DJ Uiagalelei. 2 Tongan quarterbacks playing against each other in this game, by the way. Yeah. How about that?
I'll go Arizona. I hate Arizona, but we'll just see what happens. Go Big 12. Mitchell says Ryan. Mitchell Ryan says Rangers in 6. I agree. Rangers in 6.
I tend to agree too. I just want to be different than Rob, and I said 7.
All right. Final thoughts, questions, concerns, comments. That's all I got.
It's going to be a fun weekend because we don't have to watch Texas Tech football and dread that. The Rangers being in the World Series makes me happy.
Yeah. It certainly helps with the Texas Tech depression.
Yeah. And it's also one of those times of the year where every major sport is being played at the same exact time.
Yeah.
You got baseball in the World Series, NBA basketball, which I could care less about at this point in the season. The Mavericks are back playing. The Dallas Stars are playing. The Dallas Cowboys are playing football on Sundays.
Yeah. They're very good.
The NFL's going. College football's going. College basketball season's about to ramp up practice.
Yeah.
And get going. Texas Tech's playing Texas A&M in a week, 2 weeks. When is that game?
Weekend?
This weekend?
This weekend.
Yeah, at the Super Pit in Denton.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. It's a great time of the year to be a sports fan because you can flip the channels and something is on for you to watch. It's not the dead of summer where you have nothing and Major League Baseball's in the dog days, and the Rangers, luckily this year were good, so we had a lot to talk about. But yeah, it's been a fun year to be a sports fan. Hopefully, well, unless you're a Texas Tech football fan, and then but luckily we have the Rangers, Rob. We have the Rangers. The Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars are going to compete for another cup this year.
Let's hope. I love playoff hockey. I don't really watch regular season hockey at all, but I love playoff hockey.
Playoff hockey is great.
We will see you on Overreaction Monday. I don't believe we'll record any more for the Gauchos. I guess we'll record Gauchos Sunday night, but we'll see what happens there. All right, Carson. It's a good day.
Peace.